Hello, today we've got the 1914 Summer Pioneer Run. Let's have a look at the bikes. Morning, John.
Morning.
How you doing?
We're good.
Tell us about the Woola.
Designed and built by John Woolas in between 1909 and 1911. He had some crazy ideas, but they obviously worked. This is a two-stroke. It runs engine oil in the sump. It's only the principle is two-stroke. You've got no oil mixing or anything, which a lot of people don't understand.
Right.
If you've got any questions on it, I can tell you.
Right. So let's have a look at the bike. Now, people, you're not going to believe this, but we actually have John Woolas' grandson.
Hello. Yes.
So
yeah, John Woola was my grandfather. This was his design, his ideas that he had from a young age. Was able to bring him to fruition. You know, as you say, as I said, 1909 through to 1911 was brought together. Then came back in 1919, 1920.
From the war.
From after the war. Up to mid 1950s.
And that's when the company shut?
That's when the company shut, yeah. It's when he passed, wasn't it? When my grandfather passed away, and that was kind of the...
Yeah, that is a fascinating story, this.
And this has been in the family since the beginning.
There is one thing I'd just like to say about that. The fuel tank should be green, coach lined, but after all the work that went into rebuilding the tank, we just couldn't paint it. It was just, you know, that's for someone to do in 50 years' time. But I couldn't paint it.
It's a fascinating bike. So how does the two-stroke thing work?
Right, you've got a double-ended piston. And what it does, you've got the firing end, which is obviously the barrels, and an intake end. And what it does, it transfers the intake through this top tube here into the front for firing.
Fascinating.
But
And
the piston is double-ended, has two con rods on the outside of the piston. Now that's got you.
yeah.
Yeah, it's...
And your grandfather designed that engine?
We've actually got the original drawing, which is on like partnership paper.
Wow. So do you have any more of his bikes?
Yes, we have
A few?
Yeah.
We'll keep it secret, shall we?
Keep it secret.
Yeah.
Good boys. Thank you very much. We've got a 1913 Douglas with a few problems. We're hoping it's just a spark plug. We think the problem is old fuel. It's nothing to do with the old rider. Good morning, Ian.
Morning.
Could you tell me about your bike?
So this is a 1914 Wolf. It's quite a rare mark of bikes. I'm aware of 7 of these in the UK. There may be more, but there's certainly not many. And you won't see any more on the run today. So this was bought in January 1914 by a guy called Friday Enfield. He bought it as his runabout, and at the start of the First World War he enlisted in the war, and in October 1914 he was killed. Before he went to war, he inhibited the bike, covered it in oil, and he put it in his downstairs cellar. Over the years the cellar door got covered over with a dresser, and the bike was forgotten about. And it wasn't until the mid-60s, when the row of houses were demolished, that this bike was discovered by the JCB driver. And he didn't know what to do with it. His foreman said, well, take it home, do what you like with it. These bikes, nobody was interested in these in the mid-60s. It remained in his garage until he died in 2003. And when the family came to clear his lock-up garage, this is what they found. So this was a bike that had last been ridden in 1914, and in 2003 a guy called Mike Chenery, who was a member of this Sunbeam Motorcycle Club, took on the restoration of this bike and turned it into this wonderful, wonderful bike it is now. Unfortunately, Mike died around about 2018, and I got the bike shortly after that. So I'm its third rider in 108 years.
Wow.
Which I think is amazing.
Yeah.
And I like to think it's a bit of a tribute to the owner. Unfortunately, when Mike's estate was broken up after he died, the medals that he had managed to collect, and these were Friday Enfield's medals from the First World War. He was in the King's Royal Rifle Corps, and he was killed in the King's Royal Rifle Corps. Unfortunately, the medals and the bike got separated, and I would just love to get the medals back. So here she is. She's a basic. She's a lovely bike, but not complicated. These were runabouts, if you like. These were the mopeds of the day. The Wolf brand. It was quite interesting. They advertised their bikes as Britain's lightest, best and cheapest motorcycles. So, you know, they were pitching a bike like this at the market of people that would previously be cycling. So they were you can imagine, you know, when the Honda 50 came in the late 60s, these were that type of trying to get into a new market. So they were low-cost bikes, uses a proprietary engine. It's a Villiers Mark 1 engine. And this is the luxury model. It's got a kickstart, it's got gears, and it's got a clutch. These bikes are interesting to ride. Unlike modern bikes, they don't have twist grips, so they've got a lever for the throttle. The brakes, if you look at the brakes are very much the sort of brake you might expect to see on a bicycle, just caliper brakes. I characterise them more of ornamental value than practical value. Belt drive, and the rear brake is just a little pad operated by the heel that presses against the rim. So there is nothing very sophisticated about this bike, but it's lovely, and every time I ride it, I think it's a tribute to the person that bought it and lost his life in the First World War.
And it's lovely to have something where you've got the whole history of the bike.
Absolutely, yes. Yes. To know the background for a bike from 1914 is quite unusual.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm very lucky. I think I'm very lucky.
And very proud, I should hope.
I am very proud. I love taking it out, and I mean, ironically, because Wolf is not a mark of motor bicycle that is particularly well known, they're not valuable as such compared to many bikes of a similar age, but valuable to me.
I think you are. Yeah. Lovely. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Right, and it was a balance.
Now come on, girls. We've got company here, so behave yourself and start.
Now you're going to expect it to start, aren't you?
I'm sure it runs as good as it looks.
It sometimes does. But not always. This is an addition, the bungee cord, because the roads in Surrey, where I come from, are worse than they were in 1914. So, says a lot, doesn't it? Right, now don't let me down, you're being watched.